That's why capitalism is the root cause of all of our shit breaking and all of this food tasting bad and all of the microplastics in our nutsacks and stuff. It's all about capitalism.
The reason why you got microplastics in your nutsack.
It's capitalism, baby. Not Biden. And to all the libs, it's not Trump. It doesn't matter.
The whole fucking system.
It doesn't matter. It's all capitalism.
Wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. Hello and welcome back, episode 39, Revolutionary Rhetoric. Glad to be back in person again. Oh, okay.
My hair's going crazy. I got to get a haircut.
I don't ever get haircuts.
I can tell.
Yeah.
He just
I got like a sweet like emo thing going on. You wouldn't understand, Mom.
What do you mean? You would okay. I went through that. Well, I didn't go through the emo phase, but the middle school era, dude, 2007, 2008 was the like on top of being in middle school and being 13 to 14 years old, 12 years old, it's literally the perfect combination where everybody was emo.
Oh yeah, I mean I grew up in that emo, and I was emo. Goddamn, I just went to When We Were Young a couple years ago. The first When We Were Young fest. It was a giant festival in Las Vegas that had like My Chemical Romance and Paramore and Avril Lavigne and Taking Back Sunday and Dashboard Confessional and just like 40 bands from high school. Me and Brianna went and saw them all. I got some photos. We dressed up as emo kids.
I gotta see.
And this was when I was like 34, so you know, it's good times. 2007. I was already graduated high school by 2007.
I was in middle school.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
I graduated in 2013. So.
Yeah. Well, I graduated in 2007. I should say I wasn't graduated by 2007. Hey, welcome back, everybody. 39. We're back in the same room again, which is nice. Got his Tito shirt on. I don't own any commies. Well, that's not true. I have a John Brown shirt. And then I just have
commie merch is fun.
I have one where it's just Lenin, Stalin, Marx, and Engels, like the heads.
I like wearing commie merch that nobody would understand it's commie merch unless you're a commie, and then somebody will see you like,
hey. Yeah, I wear that shirt that said John Brown did nothing wrong a lot. And like it's one of those ones where like 99% of Americans don't know who John Brown is, but like that 1%, if you know, you know, and you're just like, nice, yeah. Cool, man. Well, we're back. We're back again. It's actually peek behind the curtain. It's early morning. We're doing this recording.
It's the first time ever.
Yeah, first time ever. We've done it before noon. It's Thursday. Today is Thursday, July 18th. Recording about 11 a.m. give or take.
My heart rate's at 60.
Blood pressure is one.
Yeah. So Wednesday, your internet went down yesterday?
Yeah, fucking Comcast. So I have Xfinity Internet, which is like owned by Comcast. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna be doing some upgrades in your area. Your internet's gonna be down all day." I'm like, "Well, okay." Had to read a book like a pleb. Yeah.
A book. Yeah. Fuck reads anymore.
Yeah. No, me and my wife actually went out for some errands and like had a little day out. Took our dogs and we, you know, it was nice to touch grass every now and again.
I spent the day editing videos because we were behind a few days. It was rough last week. I think it was like 62 hours of work last week, and you had to go.
Yeah, I had to travel. I was in Tucson, and I always think that I'm going to be able to get work done, like editing the podcast and like making thumbnails and stuff while traveling. And it's just so hard, like not having my desktop computer. I don't like my laptop is like kind of a piece of shit. It's just not that easy to find time when you're traveling and visiting friends and visiting family and having to like fulfill obligations. So I kind of promised more than I could deliver, but we got it done. It just got done late. Like I don't think the podcast didn't get out until Tuesday. We normally upload on a Sunday for the audio. And I think it's usually Sundays for the video as well. And that didn't get out till yesterday. Yeah. Which is fine. I mean,
you got it 2 days late, 3 days late.
It happens. Life gets in the way. We've missed weeks before, so it's not that big a deal. 2 days late is better than missing it. So anyway, we're back. We got so much stuff happened.
Dude, are you serious?
So like we were like about a week ago, or a few days ago, Israel bombed Damascus, and we're like, oh, okay, this is the big news, right?
No, not even close. That's awful. That's not even on our fucking schedule anymore.
Yeah, and we had to bump that from schedule, although we do want to recognize that all this domestic news we're going to talk about is a distraction from the genocide in Gaza, and we don't want to let that continually be a distraction from the Gaza genocide. That said, we would be remiss if we don't mention kind of the more domestic news that is kind of very relevant to us right now, which is like Trump's assassination attempt. The RNC is happening. There's some Biden stuff going on. So there's a bunch of stuff. So we don't want to like neglect the Gaza genocide or forget about it. And we do want to acknowledge that we very much understand there's still a lot of big things going on. But instead of kind of breaking our attention between domestic and international, we decided to do all the domestic this week and then focus on international next week, because it should be a slow week with domestic news. RNC will be over. The DNC is not happening yet. Short of Biden dying between now and then, we should be able to, which is not impossible, as we'll talk about shortly. Assuming nothing major happens in domestic news, we can focus all of our attention on the Gazan genocide next week and kind of catch up on the last 2 weeks of that news. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. Without further ado, I guess that's a good enough segue. We can start getting into this domestic news.
Well, speaking one of the most major domestic news points that I think we've talked about here, there has been an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. As many of you know, this is obviously old news, but we're here to kind of revisit what the fuck happened, kind of just give some information out, dispel misinformation.
Yeah, it was the 13th, which was, 5 days ago now? It was Saturday.
So you'll probably hear this about a week post of it happening.
Yeah, you'll get this. We're reporting on this about a week from when you're hearing this, a week after the event. So now which again, we've kind of said it a few times before, it's not a bad thing to kind of wait and sit on these a little bit, because we get a little more information.
More accurate information.
And there's still like a lot of misinformation going around about this. I will say that first weekend this happened, either Saturday it happened Saturday. In Pennsylvania, a 20-year-old would-be assassin was on the roof of some kind of structure about 140 yards from the president and took a few shots at him with an AR-15 type rifle. Hit Trump, the president, I said former president, Trump in the ear. There's a lot of kind of like simulations and recreations of Trump turning his head just at the very last second, which allowed the bullet to kind of just hit his ear and not enter his head. Because he turned his head.
Essentially just grazed. But I've heard that an expert marksman would actually not aim for the head. He would go for the body.
And also, like, you wouldn't even need to be an expert marksman. 140 yards with an AR rifle is like, that's nothing. Like,
I do have to say.
I don't know. There's talk around that, but I just want to make this point that anybody... I could take a 4-year-old to a range, give him an AR-15, and tell him to hit something at 140 yards, and after a couple hours, they could do it. 140 yards with an AR-15 with any decent, like, I mean, unless you're like completely, like, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of like an optic and like just being off center or whatever, but like that's an easy shot.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
is the high school rifle team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's one. There's a high school rifle team. The person who shot him, what was his name? Crooks. Thomas Crooks.
Thomas Crooks. Yeah.
He basically tried out for the high school rifle team.
Yeah.
And they denied him because he was such a bad shot.
Yeah. Like,
I guess he went to go redeem himself for something.
Oh no!
And he just proved it again.
Yeah. And so he, I don't know how many total shots were fired. It was a few shots were fired. One hit Trump in the ear. 3 total people were hit. 1 was killed. One Trump attendee. It was at a Trump rally in, I think it was Philadelphia. It was in Pennsylvania. I don't remember if it was Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. But there was one attendee to the MAGA rally there was killed, and 2 other people are injured and in critical condition. I was actually trying to find their condition updates, and I don't have any details as to their status. The last I saw that they were just in critical condition, and I only bring that up because I think earlier on there was a lot of speculation that this was kind of a staged event, specifically and only because of how Trump reacted to it. It was like, it just felt so theatrical of like, he got shot and then he immediately like was like fist pumping and like hyping
he
up
has
the crowd.
Such content brainworms.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Everything is about like content. He's like, how can I, flip this to trying to make and. I mean,
he's a showman. He knows how to work a crowd,
exactly.
And so that's kind of where I think a lot of people were like, it felt like he was ready for it. If you like rewatch it, it looks like he's almost ready for it. And I think that's like, that has been debunked just because people did die in the crowd, but there's still more like. Listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I am not saying that this was staged or like planned ahead of time by anybody from the Republican side of things. But like, it does show the kind of complete incompetence and ineptitude of both the local police and the Secret Service and the FBI, because they saw this guy wandering around with like a rangefinder and like.
But that's the weird thing, though. It was one of those moments where it's like, this is obviously not staged, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's people like pointing out like minutes that there's somebody on the roof. I watched the video today.
Yeah.
From the outside, there's like somebody yelling at the police. There's somebody on the roof, laying on the roof. There's like a woman pointing to the person on the roof.
Yeah.
And nobody did anything.
And so there's
It's
some,
like, wow, is this?
and they did
staged? Is it
nothing.
not?
And like, first of all, how do you get within 140 yards of a former president, a presidential nominee, with an AR rifle? Like, I don't understand. I haven't been able to find like true details on like how he was able to like get through security or get that close with an AR-15 or AR style rifle. So I don't know. Well, there's Republicans doing what Republicans always do, which is like call hearings in Congress, and they're like going to call the director of the Secret Service. I forget her name. It's a woman.
Yeah.
And they're going to like try to get her fired probably because of like whatever. But the rules of engagement say you can't fire. You can't just execute people in the crowd that you think might have a gun. You have to kind of wait until they do something, and that's called rules of engagement. It's typically in most like.
Yeah, but you don't have to kill him. You could just you're not allowed to be in that spot and move him away.
Well, sure, yeah, but I mean, like, if they see
Arrest him
somebody,
out of suspicion.
yeah, like if they see somebody with like a gun-shaped thing, they have to they can't like.
You can
No, but I'm saying like
yeah.
the seconds before he fires, right? Like you can't like.
Yeah, but this guy's up there for minutes.
Well,
right?
yeah,
so you could detain him upon suspicion.
100%. There are levels of ineptitude and incompetence to this, but I'm just saying, right at the end, like right before he fires, if you see somebody with a gun, you can't just. Well, if you see somebody with a gun like aiming at the president, sure, you can take that shot, but like if you can't just indiscriminately fire into like civilians without like them firing first, and that's kind of where they are now. But yeah, there are a whole lot of things like illustrating how just incompetent police are, and that's a separate conversation as to like this. But what we kind of wanted to steer this conversation into is like the immediate aftermath of this, of like if there was ever something that was going to like just finally put the nail in the coffin for Biden's campaign, this is it. A president surviving an assassination attempt and fist pumping right after he shot. That's such a powerful image for people. Like that just shows like not only if you're already a Trump fan, but like if you're anybody that was on the fence, that's like this image of vigor and just strength and
this guy's badass.
Yeah, and badassness or whatever. And like, yeah, that's it. Biden's cooked. But also from Democrats, including Biden himself, and just everybody around the world is like, political violence of any kind, should be condemned. We wish Trump a speedy recovery. It's like you've been calling him like Hitler. You've been calling him an out and out fascist, a threat to democracy, the worst thing possible for a country. And now you want to offer him thoughts and prayers. Like you can't have it both ways.
Just the veneer, the cliches, the platitudes, the decorum. Yeah. I'm like, this is what everybody hates about American politics.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you're going to say something, fucking say it with your chest.
Yeah. So there's two facets to this, right? One is that the first kind of idea that they're all in a club and you're not in it, right?
Exactly.
The difference with Democrats and Republicans, like they'll always have each other's back before they ever have yours, because like, yeah, they may like say all this rhetoric in the news about how like, oh, one's a threat to democracy, one's a threat to the American way of life. But when something like this happens, they're all in the same camp. I believe that. The Democrats believe that. The Democrats are in that mind frame of like, we are in the same club. It's just discourse, right? It's just like what we say on the campaign trail is just for the campaign trail. That's for the news cameras. But really, we're all just people. We're all just Americans. We have a different vision. We both want to help America. We have a different vision for how that goes. The Republicans do not think that. The Republicans do believe that the Democrats are a threat to America, and then they need to be put in internment camps. And so that's what the Democrats kind of don't understand, is that it isn't just rhetoric to the Democrats when they say we need to like lock them all up, when they say we need to like, when they call for the assassination of Democrats. That isn't rhetoric on the campaign trail. That's what Republicans believe.
So I would slightly disagree. I would say that the politicians don't believe that.
Oh, well,
sure.
That's what
The people do.
I think. I think like JD Vance does believe that. Like if JD Vance, like in some of his like more violent rhetoric, calling for like the extermination of certain politicians. Like
I believe that he would. I believe that these guys are all just paid goons at the end of the day.
I think.
Well, maybe there are some politicians.
I think like Tom Cotton, DeSantis. Like DeSantis would lock up trans people in internment camps if given the opportunity.
Okay, yes. But there are also like, I can't get out of my mind. I was watching this like hour and a half long interview with Hassan Piker, and he's like, he is a lefty, a socialist, he's blah blah blah, and he's like, I would go to debates, and I would go debate these right wingers. And, and we're going frivolously back and forth. You can obviously sense like the hatred of the other, because it's just like you believe what they believe is practically evil.
Yeah.
And then he would get like after the debate, he's like, "Hey, you want to go grab a drink or something?" And he's like, "I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would I ever drink?"
Yeah, I
and
think like
and
Tim
they like
Pool's like that and stuff.
exactly,
Yeah.
but what he's like. To them it's just work. To them
Yeah.
it's just like a job. It's a front, and when they put that down, they don't care.
Yeah, I think
right?
there's a difference between like the media people like Tim Pool and Candace Owens and people who are paid millions of
But I
dollars to
think
say that
those
stuff.
are the same people that are running for to be politicians.
I guess
they just don't have the charisma.
Yeah,
they don't
probably
have...
not all of them, but I think a lot of those politicians are like believers, right? Like I think there is.
Yeah, I'm not saying
Yeah.
none of them are. I'm just saying a lot of them are fucking.
Sure.
And I think Vance is one of those. There's just like, where's the wind blowing?
Vance is a bad example because we're gonna talk about Vance next, but like he is like just a grifter and a con man and kind of just like whatever way the wind's blowing, just riding coattails to as much fame and money as you can.
Many of the Democrats are like that as well.
Most of the Democrats are like all the Democrats are like that. I mean, most politicians have that in them. Some of them just actually do believe what they're saying. Some of them don't. There's a really funny scene in The Boys. If anybody watches The Boys, like the whole show is about like the woke mob versus an Antifa versus like MAGA and QAnon people. That's like what The Boys is about, kind of. And like there's all this rhetoric that goes back and forth, and then one of the characters goes to like this private event at this politician's house, which is they have all of the leading people from all parties. And he starts talking about this like the woke agenda, whatever. And he's like, "Oh, save that shit for like the news channels. Like none of us actually believe that bullshit." And it's like they're all like in it together, both from Republicans. I just thought that was funny because that's probably like what it's like for the most part. I do believe that there's still a lot of these people that like. I don't think like some politicians would go to a ball with Democrats and like make nice. I think some of them would be like no, but
yeah. No, I remember somebody's telling me like the first 3 seasons, all the fucking conservatives loved it.
Yeah.
And then the 4th season, they finally
they realized like what the point of the show was.
Yeah, they were
was just
making fun of
MAGA people. Yeah.
And so I
It's
thought
pretty
that was
funny.
fucking hilarious.
Watch
I've
The
never
Boys.
seen it. I kind of want to watch it.
Watch it. It's very funny. It's like it's this most recent episode was so fucking funny about like Antifa and stuff. It doesn't matter. The point is, a new episode came out today. I'll have to check that out. Separate conversation. Anything anyone else want to say about Trump being shot? We'll see. This is probably going to give him the election, and just all of the discourse around like thoughts and prayers to Trump from people that have sworn to be his enemy. It's pretty frustrating.
I would have to say that I still don't like. The only thing that throws me off is the amount of blood. Like the amount of blood is just like if a bullet, like an AR-15, like the bullet from an AR-15 shot your ear. And say it what actually hit your ear, wouldn't it be like crucial amounts of blood? Like,
I mean, there was a decent amount of blood, but no, because I mean, I'm not a doctor. But
I don't know.
Did
it
like
graze,
it's mostly
did
cartilage.
it just graze?
Yeah, I think it just kind of grazed.
Or did it go through his ear completely?
No, from what I saw, it was just like kind of the top of his ear, just like it just hit like a little bit of the top.
Ah.
Yeah.
Damn, that guy really was a bad shot, wasn't he?
Yeah, dude. And then, so we're gonna talk about the RNC. Let's move on to that next. So the RNC happens like 2 days later. So Trump gets shot in the ear, and then 2 days later, he has to go to like the biggest Republican thing of every 4 years. It's the Republican National Convention. It's in Milwaukee. It's where it's now where everyone's coming together. It's where the vice presidential nominee pick finally happened. It's J.D. Vance. We've kind of spoiled that already, but J.D. Vance is now the vice president. I will say, did you see? I just saw this right before we started recording. It was a very funny thing, and I don't know if it's real or not. I think it might be, where it was like trying to lock down a vice presidential debate time slot or whatever, and the Trump campaign says we're not going to commit because we don't know who the vice president could be. It could be what was like it'll be like Newsom or Gretchen Whitmore or whoever President elect Kamala Harris decides to choose. And I'm like, is that real? Like, is that really just the Trump campaign guy throwing hella shade that Biden's going to be dead by then? Because that's pretty funny if it is.
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
That's why they're saying they're not going to do a vice presidential debate because they don't know who the vice president elect or the nominee is going to be, which is pretty funny. Anyway, J.D. Vance. We could talk a bit about J.D. Vance. We kind of mentioned it already. Yeah, he's definitely like a con man, a grifter, just a fake, like a fraud. He wrote a book, and his whole persona is based around this like Appalachian kind of like hillbilly rags to riches story, which is obviously complete bullshit. He came from like a suburban middle class family. He had a nice house. I was reading like that, he had golf lessons, and then he went to Yale like law school and stuff. Like this guy's like, he's not the guy that everyone is like
Yeah.
the new narrative around him is like drug addicted mom, in like the trailer parks of Appalachia, Mountain Dew and OxyContin type, like, that like persona, that stereotype of the Appalachia. He is now feeding into that stereotype, claiming that heritage,
I mean,
which is
that's
just
so it's typical.
yeah,
of
which
a
is what you
fucking
had just
politician,
mentioned,
at
which
the
is very
same
typical of a
time.
politician. Like, no, he had a suburban middle class life, like I said, golf lessons and Yale. Like, this guy
Yeah.
is privileged as anyone else is. Um,
There's a few things about him. I mean, like a lot of people, even from the Republican side, don't think he is fit to become vice president because this is his literal first term.
Yeah.
So he's in the middle of his first term as a senator, which is his first, I think, ever political.
I actually don't know. I don't know if he did anything rural in Ohio.
I have no clue.
Prior to that. I can look it up.
I just know that he has very, very little experience politically, and he already has Ohio and kind of like the Rust Belt set. Like he has that in a chokehold. So there's no reason for Trump to pick somebody like Vance. Realistically, it doesn't really bring him many opportunities. But what I will say is that it does bring him a character that he can manipulate and contort to have his own view, as if he's made of clay, right? He can manipulate his mind and groom him to be like the next president in the view of Trump.
Yeah.
Because if he is a con man, he just has to follow how Trump does things, and he will succeed basically. And since he's such a con man, he'll also adapt to other ways. Like if something's going wrong, this is not a good look right now, he could adapt and move.
Yeah, whichever way the wind blows. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's one positive thing for Trump about Vance is that he can manipulate him how he wants. He doesn't have much experience. It's kind of like a power dynamic there. But it's also kind of just sad because Vance has not been a fan of Trump in the past. Until very recently, actually, Vance has said many things. Maybe we're gonna pull up the quotes here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this to your point, that's true. This is in the past. JD Vance has been very outspoken against Trump. He is a self-proclaimed never Trumper. Specifically, he said, quote, "I'm a never Trump guy." In an interview with Charlie Rose in 2016. As somebody who doesn't like Trump myself, I understand where Trump's voters come from, but I also don't like Trump himself, and that made me realize that maybe I'm not quite part of either world totally. So yeah, earlier on, and then here's some more quotes. "My God, what an idiot!" Quote, he called him, quote, "America's Hitler," end quote.
So the guy is vice president right now, called the so-called presidential candidate Hitler, but he's his vice president. So what does it make him, like Himmler?
Yeah. So, that's a fair point.
So,
and like, Mr. Trump is unfit for our nation's highest office. I can't stomach Trump. I mean, this guy, like, it goes on and on. This guy has just been consistently anti-Trump his whole life, but this just kind of plays into the fact that, yeah, he's just a wherever the wind blows type guy.
Exactly. Because he realized if he wants to be anything larger in the Republican Party, he has to fucking shift.
Yeah, and then we learned this during the campaign, right? Like, Trump is the Republican Party, whether you like it or not. If you're a Republican, Trump is the Republican Party. And so you got to get on board or you're going to get steamrolled over. And we learned like DeSantis and Haley and everybody that was kind of a never Trumper that tried to fight back against that. They all lost and Trump's the guy.
This is something random. I kind of popped up in my head. There is a video that I saw earlier today with RFK on the phone with Trump, trying to get him basically a position in his cabinet.
RFK in Trump's cabinet?
Yeah.
I bet you that would be that sounds like exactly something Trump would do to like show that he's like bipartisan or something, is like give it to somebody who's, fucking like RFK. I've been sending you RFK's ads.
I know, they're fucking ridiculous.
I am obsessed with RFK these days. What a fucking psychopath.
Oh my god.
I love it.
But speaking about Vance and Trump and the Republican Party.
We have that goofy ad too if you want to watch this. Do you want to do this now?
Yeah, let's do why not?
Get this out of the way. Here's an ad from JD Vance's Senate seat from 2020 he ran for Senate? Or no, 2022? Yeah, whenever he ran for Senate.
Yeah,
the one and only. I looked it up. Yeah, that's his one and only thing. He got out. He went to Yale. Got out. He was a Marine. got out, ran for Senate. He's been in the Senate for a couple years.
He looks like, real quick, he looks like Derek from Step Brothers if he gained some weight. And I feel like Derek would be this guy.
I've seen so many memes like, what does this man to me do? And it's like a white nationalist Care Bear, like all kinds of like, goofy shit. All right, ready?
All right.
Are you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans? The media calls us racist for wanting to build Trump's wall. They censor us, but it doesn't change the truth. Joe Biden's open border is killing Ohioans, with more illegal drugs and more Democrat voters pouring into this country. This issue is personal. I nearly lost my mother to the poison coming across our border. No child should grow up an orphan. I'm JD Vance, and I approve this message because whatever they call us, we will put America first.
So what's funny is like this is for his Senate run in his area.
Yeah.
And which I think was
it's in Ohio.
Yeah, it's in Ohio. Ohio.
Oh, mio,
and he nearly lost. Trump had to come in and basically vouch for the guy to save his ass.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, again, bringing it back, was like, why would you pick this guy? He is not an asset. He was a liability because you literally had to come in and save his ass in a place that was already red-leaning. Like the fact that you couldn't win a red-leaning state as a Republican.
Yeah, and also it would be necessary to mention the whole Peter Thiel of it all. The conservative kind of like mega donor who basically like bankrolls and buys candidates paid for and bought Vance's campaign, and like it was Peter Thiel's money that like allowed Vance to win. He gave him $10 million. He set up a $10 million like super PAC or whatever for Ohio for that election, and Peter Thiel is kind of like the puppeteer behind Vance, pulling the strings of Vance's kind of thing. So like Vance is in many ways like bought and paid for. He's been kind of like bought by Trump, bought by Peter Thiel. He is not his own man. He is not like, he's not a working class kind of guy. He like we said earlier, he has that book, Hillbilly Elegy, which is like supposed to kind of paint this image prior to his Senate run of like him being like, a man of the people. He mentioned in that ad that his mom suffered from drug addiction, which is by all accounts is true. I doubt that the southern border is the reason his mom was addicted in Appalachia country or Ohio. So it's just I can't get a job because of Mexicans or whatever. It's like, well, maybe you're just unemployable.
Are you a racist?
Yeah, and also maybe capitalism has something to do with that, right? Like,
no,
no,
it's because the southern border wall is not up yet.
Yeah,
and he's like, they can call me a racist.
I had that conversation with somebody when I was visiting my family of like how capitalism is like. They were talking about the quality of food at all these restaurants. It's just awful now. Everything's awful now. They went and got a breakfast sandwich at a fast food restaurant and it just tasted bad. And I'm like, yeah, it's just capitalism. And they're like, that's not capitalism. That's Biden or whatever. And I'm like, dude, my guy, like what? Like no. And then I had to explain to them. I had to explain to them like how basic economy is, like supply and demand. And then like if you are, it is. And
it's like talking to a child.
I was just like, no, it's about like cutting costs. Like you want to increase profits, you're at the federally minimum mandated wage you can pay your employees. What other ways do you cut costs? By the quality. You find us cheaper meat producer or whatever. And over time, the meat producer wants to cut costs. He's going to find cheaper wholesale meat or whatever. And then the cattle rancher, they want to cut costs. They're going to find cheaper feed. And the feed producer, they're going to cut costs. They want to so it's just that's the actual trickle down economics of like trickle down quality through a supply chain. And I don't know, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys understand that, but like if you've ever thought of it that way, like it's all about maximizing profits. So down every step of the way on take any item and then follow the parts that make that item. You're going to get to just the lowest common denominator of quality. And that's why capitalism is the root cause of all of our shit breaking and all of this food tasting bad and all of the microplastics in our nut sacks and stuff. It's all about capitalism.
The reason why you got microplastics in your nutsack
is capitalism, baby. Not Biden. And to all the libs, it's not Trump. Doesn't matter.
The whole fucking system.
It doesn't matter. It's all capitalism.
Wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. Also, can we talk about Grindr for a minute? Did you have something else to say about the RNC? I want to talk
about Grindr.
I want to talk about Grindr, and yes, I think it was the CEO of Grindr has said that anytime the RNC comes to town, that is the Super Bowl of Grindr. And there has been so much Grindr traffic in Milwaukee, the host city of the RNC right now, that the Grindr servers are crashing because of it. And I do have a little video because Grindr has location tags. So if you're unfamiliar, Grindr it's a dating app, not unlike Twitter. It's like a hookup app. However, it's specifically designed, or it's marketed toward like queer spaces. So it's primarily gay men is who use Grindr. But it has a little tag of how many feet away from you they are, and so somebody is at the RNC. Let me show this clip because this is very funny.
0 feet away. 0 feet away. 0 feet away.
And this is not an outlier.
My God.
This is a like consistent aspect of Republican events, is that like the Grindr traffic skyrockets at Republican events because Republicans are all closeted homosexuals, which is fine. It's just hypocritical to then be extremely homophobic and then also this goes on for quite a while. It's not even halfway done.
It just keeps going on and on and on.
Just wanted to call that out. Apparently, let's see. There's a quote here from the CEO or the I don't know if it's a CEO, CFO, whatever of Grindr. Let me pull this up here. Grindr experiencing outages due to unprecedented traffic in Milwaukee. Breaking: an executive of the gay dating app Grindr says the Republican National Convention is, quote, basically Grindr's Super Bowl, end quote. And there's a graph of usage in the Milwaukee area, and it like spikes the days of the convention. So I don't know. Maybe don't be so homophobic if you're actually gay, and that's it's okay to be gay.
If you like cock, it's okay,
It's
man.
okay, bud.
Nobody cares anymore.
2024.
Nobody cares.
I just thought that was so funny that
it's still going.
Homophobics. Oh, it's still going.
It's
We'll put a link to that.
God.
Tweet. Here, I'll put a link to that tweet in the show notes if anybody's curious to see what we're talking about. Anything else about the RNC? There's not been a whole lot of. I mean, there's just been a bunch of like news. I will say it's unique that Trump is there. Typically, the candidates aren't there. But he's been sitting in like this show like box like a sports kind of like
sounds like
VIP box. Yeah, basically like a VIP box. He's just been sitting there, and I guess there was like day 1 or day 2 there was a bunch of scenes of him just snoozing in his chair like while people are talking because he's just falling asleep. But I guess that's unusual. I don't know if that means anything. He's scheduled to speak tonight, Thursday the 16th.
I think,
or 18th. Sorry, this is the day he's actually gonna like get up there and do the final commencement address. Today's the last day of it.
Yeah, I think it's for show of strength because he just got shot into it. That's supposed to make it look like it was nothing.
Yeah, that's the whole point. But we didn't talk about the bandages.
That's what I was trying to bring up. For last thing from the RNC. Oh my God. What? This is a cult. I mean, if you don't know what a fucking cult is, this is a fucking cult.
That's 100% cult.
Holy shit. So to give you an explanation of what we're kind of talking about here, if you haven't seen already, which I doubt you haven't seen because it's everywhere. Trump gets shot in the ear, of course. He had that bandage up. So everybody shows up to the RNC with everybody, like 50% of people, 70% of people or whatever, show up to the scene with a bandage on their ear in solidarity with fucking Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's just a joke. It's childish. Right? I have no words.
The funniest thing I saw was like when you were in 5th grade and everyone was wearing the bandage on the cheeks, impersonating Nelly, the rapper.
Oh,
Nelly.
yeah.
Like, that's what it looks like, dude. How childish and just silly they are. But I mean, they're childish and silly people. They're not like serious. They're not people to be taken seriously. Conservative voters, especially like hardcore Trumpers, are not serious people.
Grown ass a man, like 55 years old, and there's like a solidarity with Trump.
Well, remember like the weird thing they had at the big rally they had, and it was like the fake cage, and it was like the January 6th protester was in this cage, and you could go in and pray with them, and it was like just like this weird like performance art thing. Dude. It's just like that's what they're about. They're just about performance. I mean, the Democrats are no different. Like. Just like goofy performance art. Remember, like, remember
they were kneeling,
the kneeling with the whatever the things are called, like it's in solidarity with like Black Lives Matter. And it's like while simultaneously increasing police funding and stuff. But like, just fucking ridiculous. So
Oh my God! If anybody ever brings up like any Republican ever brings up that with them, like them kneeling,
just show them the air bandage.
Show them the bandages. And shut the fuck up, bro.
Pretty funny.
In other big news. As we know, Biden is not doing very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Biden is not doing very well, and everybody wants him to step down, including a lot of the Democratic.
Yeah, it was kind of
congressmen,
like it was a trickle at first. It
congresswomen.
was like I remember when Raul Grijalva was the second congressman.
Yeah,
We reported
there
on
are
this. We
multiple
talked about
people
this like
now.
last week.
Yeah.
He was, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. He was the second congressman to kind of openly call for Biden to step down. Well, now it's like there's coalitions forming. Apparently, there's a very heated exchange that happened just a couple days ago with like a few different like the higher leading Democrats. Adam Schiff, the senator, has like asked for him to step down. I guess now 2/3 of Democratic voters think that he shouldn't run, and that number seems to be about comparable in Democratic politicians. Like more than half of Democratic
That's the same
politicians.
the poll. Like when I was talking about that poll that I saw on Twitter.
Yeah.
That was not a Twitter poll because that.
Oh no,
keeps
that
making
2/3
comment.
was like an actual poll on Twitter is not a Twitter poll.
Yeah, that's. He said I had no clarity. I wasn't clear on that. I was very fucking clear. So if
said
you're
that?
watching it again, fuck you.
Who said that?
Somebody on YouTube.
Oh fuck.
He's like, yeah, the Twitter poll is not realistic to real life. I'm like, it's not a Twitter poll. I made it clear that it was a poll
When
that
you say
I saw on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, if I see a poll on CNN, it's not a CNN poll. It's like a Gallup poll or a
Yes.
Pew Research poll or like these massive polling institutions.
That was just posted on CNN.
Yeah.
Anyways, and that was what 70% of people in
Yeah.
general, the Americans in general,
Yeah.
said Biden should not run. That was
Yeah.
Republicans and Democrats. So now we have almost 70% of just Democrats.
Just Democrats. 2/3 of Democrats have said they don't want Biden to run. And then it was so funny. Biden himself has just consistently said, "No, I'm running. Fuck you." Just the hubris and just the lack of recognition for what the party wants,
which they make fun of Donald Trump for.
which
and
they make
they're
fun of
like,
Donald Trump.
Hey,
That's authoritarian, whatever,
Yeah,
whatever,
blah,
whatever.
blah.
All you can say. And then Biden said specifically, the only thing that'll stop me from running is a major medical diagnosis. And then like the next day,
God
gets
himself
diagnosed
will
with
have to
COVID.
stop me.
Yeah, and then gets diagnosed with COVID, and now Biden has COVID.
It's
Yeah.
like, dude, is God saying something? Trump survives a gunshot, and if fucking Biden dies from a fucking from a strong cold,
Yeah,
it's gonna be over, dude. It's over.
It's just so funny that's the counter argument, like, or the counterpoint is like Trump gets shot, and what does Biden do? Gets COVID and has to stay home with the sniffles, and it's just like the optics of these two men, like whether or not it's true, is just shifting further and further apart. From like one is clearly like this like youthful, vigorous, strong man, and one is just this feeble dementia old man, and that is the narrative. And like that's not true. Obviously, Trump is also a feeble dementia old man, but people aren't seeing that side
Just
of him.
cognitively, and even
Yeah.
cognitively, Trump is not amazing either.
Sure,
but he's
but
a hell of a lot better than
the
Biden.
story that's being told, the narrative is being told.
Exactly.
Is
It's
one is
politics. They're
vigor
using
and
things to their advantage.
And then Biden immediately is COVID. Supposedly it's not that bad. Supposedly it's just some sniffles, general like malaise, and a slight cough that isn't really hurting him too much. But we don't know how truthful that is. But more to the point, it's going to put him out of the spotlight. He's not going to be doing any engagements. He's not going to be doing any campaigning.
It's almost like that would be preferred because I don't know if you saw in the chat like in that I posted.
Only so.
It was in our little leftist chat on Instagram. And I'm just like, if this guy does not step out of the limelight, they were 100%. I mean, they're already gonna lose, but like now they will be obliterated. He needs to step out of the limelight somehow, get him out of the limelight. And honestly, one way to do that is COVID. He has no trouble.
Yeah, just get him out. Just get him out of there. I'm gonna see if there's any new polling data from it's the 17th. Trump up 4. Trump. Yeah, I mean Trump is literally there's a sea of red. Trump up 10, and this one poll is an Emerson College poll. Up 5, up 5, up 5, up 2, up 2, up 2, up 1, up 1, depending on the poll. Trump is leading in every poll nationwide, and we know polling isn't like super like reliable,
but it gives you kind of an idea.
But it gives you a pretty decent idea. And also, you can just look around. You see which way the wind is blowing. Unless there's like a massive, silent majority of people that like don't like Trump, and aren't like
I doubt it.
Aren't like waving Biden banners, but they're all going to secretly go vote for Biden. Like
I doubt
Biden's
I know
cooked.
so many people that will not vote for Biden.
I don't know anybody voting for Biden. Like anybody in my age group is like
I don't know anybody voting for Biden. All my friends.
Yeah.
And my friends are not very political, and if they do, they're like, whatever. I'll just vote for Biden, so it's not Trump.
They're like, no, I'm not supporting this guy. I think I know a couple people that maybe begrudgingly will vote for Biden, but I will say I know a lot more people voting for Trump because all of my like QAnon MAGA family is all voting for Trump, and like I know, like me anecdotally, if I look around my circle of like 50 people that I have in my life, that's like a 3-to-1, a 4-to-1 Trump advantage in terms of voting because most people aren't voting. And I would assume that that's probably true of most people countrywide. Of like most so say you took our age group, 18 to 35, or that like whatever that demographic group like chunk is, I imagine it would be pretty similar. People do not support Biden for his refusal to stop the genocide in Gaza for a number of reasons. That's typically that's the main one.
Yeah.
So they're not going to vote for somebody who's a genocidal monster, which is what I'm doing. I'm not going to support or vote for somebody who
Absolutely
is
not.
actively competing. I don't care who his opponent is. That's not my problem. It's the DNC's problem to choose a better candidate. It's not my fault they chose a genocider. That's their fault. If they lose, they have no one to blame but themselves. And don't let anyone tell you that if you're not voting for Biden, you're handing the victory to Trump. No, it's the Democrats who chose this candidate, who chose a genocidal, senile monster as their candidate. That's who they thought was the best choice. If he loses, they have nobody to blame but themselves. But you can feel good that you didn't support a genocider.
They don't deserve. They don't.
Yeah.
They have to earn your vote. That's the thing.
That's the whole point.
Of voting.
That's the whole point of like American electoral politics.
Why should I vote for you?
Yeah.
You're not my boss. I am the one who's voting for you. Why should I vote for you?
You have to convince me.
I am interviewing you. Why should I vote for you? Why should I give you power?
Yeah.
Right? You don't just it'd be authoritarian just to say the power is supposed to be ours.
I'm the nominee, therefore you must vote for me. No,
Yeah,
that's not how it
that's
works.
Authoritarian.
Yeah.
Like if you want to talk about authoritarianism,
Yeah.
I mean that is an ideal authoritarian position where just like
Whoever's
what do you
in
mean?
charge, you get to vote. They have to vote for you.
Yeah, they have to vote for
Yeah,
you.
that would be great if it were that way. For these people, but it isn't. So
That's the beauty of a democracy.
Yeah.
You want a democracy? Here it is.
Yeah. Okay. Anything we kind of forgot to mention? Oh, I wanted to jump back to the first section about the discourse around the shooting, because I forgot to talk about Jack Black and the whole Tenacious D drama.
Okay.
And this is pretty scummy. There was a show. I don't know where it was. There was they were on tour. I think they were overseas. So I think which is what people are like who are apologizing for. Let me get to the story. They were overseas somewhere, and it's Kyle Gass. If you don't know the band Tenacious D, it's Jack Black and I think Kyle Gass is his name. And it's like a comedy rock band, whatever. They're performing, and it's Kyle's birthday, and so Jack Black has like a cake brought out for him, and he blows out the candle, and he asks, "What does he wish for?" And then Kyle says something to the effect of, "For next time, the Trump shooter not to miss." And then like pretty funny, whatever. Like we all hoped that shot would hit. It didn't. That's a bummer. That guy needed better aim. Whatever. That's not a bad thing to say. Trump's a fucking fascist monster. Like whatever. So, but what happens next is Jack Black immediately cancels the show, cancels a tour, breaks up Tenacious D, goes to social media to write all of this like apologist stuff of like, there's no place for political violence. I just, I condone that type of language, yada, yada, yada. And like, if you know anything about Tenacious D and some of the shit, like the heinous shit they've done and said in the past, this is pretty hypocritical. And so what all of this is Jack Black securing his, future as like a voice actor in Disney movies and stuff. He wants to distance himself from this so that he can kind of continue making that money. It's just kind of really like,
it's sad.
It's just really like scummy to do to like your lifelong best friend. Kyle has now been dropped from the label and like been fired from all projects, and like he's just been completely left out to dry. Jack Black threw Kyle Gass under the bus so hard and so fast, and it's just such a it just shows Jack Black's true character so fast, and it's like, wow, he's absolutely a fucking absolute piece of shit. Just Jack Black is just a total scummy piece of shit, which is not surprising. He's a celebrity, so like whatever, they're all scummy pieces of shit that like defend their own image.
So great.
But Jack Black was supposed to be kind of better than that, and he's just
I
not.
know.
So fuck Jack Black.
Was a quote? Don't meet your idols.
Yeah, never meet your idols. So like, yeah, it's just. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up because there's been all of this talk of everyone just panicking. Like there was that story about that lady from Home Depot that got fired because she posted on Facebook, like it's a shame the Trump shooter missed. And so somebody went to her, the libs of TikTok person, like tracked her down, found her at Home Depot. She got mobbed and like filmed while she was ringing up people at Home Depot while being accosted, and then Home Depot fired her. It's just like, talk about cancel culture, but like,
yeah,
it's just scummy. I would be remiss if I did not bring up the Jack Black story.
Well, what there's always jokes about like if you can go back in time and strangle Hitler in the fucking cradle, would you do it? And everybody would be like, well, yeah, you would save so many people. But it's just like when you turn around and called this guy Hitler and somebody attempted it, you're like, oh, I wish him a speedy recovery. I'm like, you just called him Hitler, but then you wish them a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I saw the
make it
memes
make
of, like,
sense, dog.
Yeah,
Like,
time is going back in time, for Hitler's assassination attempt in the early 30s, and it's like, oh, we wish him a speedy recovery.
no.
Like, dude.
The Weimar Republic.
Yeah, it's like, dude. Yeah.
USSR. We wish him a speedy recovery.
Wish him a speedy recovery. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And I saw an actual tweet that was like, and I don't think it was satire. I think it was said in all earnestly, which is like, the only way to defeat fascism this November is to vote. And I'm just like, you fundamentally misunderstand the nature of fascism and electoral politics.
How many memes there are just of that situation right there?
Well, there's a meme that kind of keeps getting passed around on leftist circles, and it'll show up every now and again. And it's like, the world you envision requires like unfathomable violence, and it's like, the world like that we want requires violence. And so like, and I believe that. Like, I do not condone political violence. Political violence is necessary and is righteous. Like, if there is a fascist politician who is spouting like hate speech, that is getting like trans people killed, that is getting gay people killed, that is getting brown and black people killed, it's not only like morally okay, it's your duty to like put that person down.
If you were to say anything against that, then talk about the American Revolution, right?
What do you mean?
So if you're against political violence and say that it's not necessary, it's not
Right.
okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's
Yeah.
like, okay, forget the American Revolution.
Yeah,
the
that's just
French
political
Revolution
violence.
that
Yeah.
brought democracy to Europe, the French Revolution. But any sort of major political change was attributed with political
Yeah, that's not even
violence.
like communist revolution. That's just
talking about any- and that's what I'm
like
saying.
any kind of political change is always violent, and like it's
Always.
really silly, and it's just such a weird liberal take to say that like, oh, violence isn't necessary. Violence is never the answer. Like, violence is the only answer. Like, that's
Those are
the
the same
only thing
people
that
that
ever
will
gets
fund
changed.
police forces. The fucking
Yeah, that are like beating, like police that are beating up college protesters all across the country while saying they don't condone violence. Having homeless people like violently arrested for the crime of being homeless, saying they don't condone political violence.
invading multiple countries.
Supporting Biden while he commits a genocide in Gaza while saying they don't condone political violence. It's all political violence. It's just you don't like it when it happens so close to home.
When it's
you don't
to
like
ours.
it when it's your skin color. So like, that's when you have a problem with political violence. So get fucked. Political violence is necessary and righteous. So that's all I have to say about that.
I think like one of the biggest ones is like international political violence. We are the biggest
Yeah, we're the biggest exporter
inhibitor of the
Yeah.
international political violence, right?
Well,
We invaded Iraq. We ended up having Iraq have like close to 500,000 people dead.
Yep.
Right? We invaded Afghanistan. We invaded Vietnam. We bombed Cambodia. We invaded North Korea with South Korea. How many more times do I have to go? We did a military coup in half the countries in Latin Europe.
Yeah.
And put in fucking dictators. Those are all political violent motives. Those are all political violent moments. Those are all associated with literal violence, right? But if we do it to them,
That's when it becomes a problem.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
So it's hypocritical. It's that they don't want to lose power. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I think you have to, if you are kind of on the left, on the real left, if you are like a Marxist or any kind of like communist, you have to like get real with the idea that like the end goal of communism or socialism at large is, workers seizing the means of production in a worker-owned like productive state. And think about what that, like the steps along, like it's very anarchist of you to consider like, oh, we're here and then stateless society. Like there are steps in between that are going to require an extreme amount of violence, and you just have to like get used to that idea and like get comfortable with that idea. And as I say, buy a gun, train with a gun, get used to a gun, like learn how firearms operate, learn how to defend your community, learn how to build kind of community defense networks, self-defense networks. That's what's going to be important, coming forward. And sometimes violence is necessary. And that's okay. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes violence and violence.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like to go out to like hunt people, but we're talking about like self-defense and like,
This is totally
community
going to be
defense.
taken out of context.
That's fine. Yeah. Well,
this is probably our last episode.
it's been fun, guys. I'll be looking for a new job now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might be homeless after this one.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. We're just explaining.
Yeah, I mean the reality,
historical
like,
situations.
yeah, there's a historical context to this, which, like, yeah, sure, this can be taken out of context, but, like, yeah, like, I guess, well, I don't know, we keep talking in circles, kind of beating a dead horse. Anything else about the RNC, the Trump assassination, or COVID, Biden, or the Democrats that don't want him? Those are kind of the three main stories we talked about today.
And bans.
Yeah, I just bundle that as part of the RNC.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of come to like a dystopian like portion of American politics right now. We're all just waiting for that final moment.
Yeah.
When we see who wins. It's either, Project 2025 or Project 2025 or Gaza genocide or Gaza genocide. I mean, it's just gonna come to the same point. And there's not much else to say. Well, it's just a waiting game at this point. What the heck is this? Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, it's where Jack Black's allegiances lies. I funny story. It must have been the NSA, but I just got sent a picture on Instagram of Jack Black hugging in between Obama on his right and Biden on his left. Obama. So it's just, Jack Black just being a cook. Yeah.
It's Obama and bidet. Bidet.
Obama and bidet. Yemeni Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
That's it.
I left on a sour note there.
Yeah. All right.
No,
well,
seriously, I hope this is not our last episode. YouTube is very stringent with their with their wordings on things.
Oh, my tummy's showing. Oh no. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, like, we're not condoning like going out and like hurting people. That's a Republican thing to do. That's a conservative, a right wing, a fascist thing to do. We're not talking about unprovoked attacks. Well, anyway, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Twitter. Revolutionary Rhetoric Pod. revolutionaryrhetoricpod@gmail.com. If you want to send us a message. I don't think anyone's ever sent us an email. Well, people have sent us emails, but not about stuff. Leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave a little rating and a little review. We'll read those out if we get any. We have a bunch of ratings, but no reviews. I don't think. I haven't checked in a couple weeks.
People are tired and lazy.
People are tired and lazy. Yeah. I don't know. I sometimes, when people say that on a podcast I'm listening to, I'll go over and I'll give them a 5-star and I'll just be like, hey, enjoy the show, thanks. Because just that comment is what kind of sparks that algorithm. It's likes, comments, and shares on YouTube. It's kind of ratings and reviews on podcast apps.
Correct.
Speaking of, on the YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends. And as always, join our Patreon. We have multiple tiers available, multiple perks available, and about half that money goes to support Gazans in Palestine. And join our Discord.
Yes.
Join our Discord. We have a free Discord. The link will be down there. It's just a community Discord. A few people are in there hanging out. It's slow to build. You'll be one of the first. You'll be on the ground floor.
We're
of
a
this
fairly new
enterprise.
podcast, so
we're a new podcast, and we just made our Discord public like last week. So come hang out, say something. We'll respond. If you just want to say something, we'll say something.
Drop
back.
some good memes.
Yeah, drop. We need to make a meme.
Oh yeah,
a meme channel. Our meme
I'll do that right now.
channel. Yeah, as always, Revolutionary Rhetoric is an affiliate of the Anti-Capitalist Podcast Network. We appreciate you listening. Thanks, everybody.
Go fuck yourself, beautiful.
Okay.